Hey there, Bob from Oregon's Constant Gardener. Welcome to the OCG Fam Show to you, my YouTube buddies. What's going on in your life, in your grow? What do you got going? We'll talk about that after the show. Right now, I just want to get right into the show because Friday we did part 1 of the viewer questions, and we've waited all weekend for part 2. It's a lot of fun. Me and Scott had a good time doing this. I hope you have a good time watching it. Watch this. I love you. I'll see you tomorrow.
Helpful. Something.
Yeah. Keith McGreeny. If the nectar for the... That's a good question. I don't know how you're going to react. I'm just going to throw it at you. You're going to tell me what you think. Because I've been wanting to talk about this for a while. Because I get it. But I want to talk about it. If the nectar for the gods line is plant ready because of the pre-digestion used, then why do you need microbes? Why are they important?
Because the plant can't possibly eat a gallon of food as you pass it over the root system. So as it's passing over, it's absorbing what it needs at the time it's being passed over. The residual that doesn't pass over then adheres to the medium, or finds a spot in the peat, the cocoa, the pumice, or whatever, and adheres there. Well, now it's sitting there and it's going through a wet and dry state, and it's now becoming a compound with the actual elements of the potting soil. It became too large to consume by the plant or be absorbed by the plant, so you still need that microbial field to go in there and re-break down and digest those compounds that are created by the plant not absorbing the first round, or the residual of the first round of feeding it didn't get becomes a secondary feeding to the microbial field that re-delivers that food to the plant.
Is that an advantage above and beyond not being wasteful? Because I could just flush all that out and go again. But that back and forth kind of thing is...
Well, there's no point in flushing it all out, because now you've missed a whole day of feeding, you've oversaturated your root zone, the microbes aren't feeding or eating on anything, and it, for the most part, it's just utilizing the foods you already paid for once, it's utilizing them to make sure that they stay efficient in the soil,
So, me just talking, it seems like that, I could just be growing in some rock wool or something with some synthetics, but that I'm trying to do a more natural thing inside, I want to push and do this thing, but I'm trying to do it in a more natural fashion. And even if this stuff is totally available, it seems like it makes more sense to me to give it to the plant in a more natural way by having some rich microbial life in my soil. Would you agree with that?
that's our model and method, sure, but
you also
can crush it. NP and K, nitrogen, phosphorus, that's what it is. It's nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. The plant requires X. We deliver Y, the result is Z. Now, the result of Z is what your nuances of what you like. So do you like a lot of depth, flavor, terpenes, earthy tones, or really clean in the sense of? So it's all NPK. It's all how the plant absorbs. At the end, the end results are going to be you grew a plant with chemistry, whether it's organic chemistry or synthetic chemistry, it's still chemistry. Whether or not you're going for secondary microbial feedings with your nutrients versus a guy who's just doing a drip stake through a rock wool cube and constantly drip feeding.
So, but we're talking a muscle milk and a multivitamin versus a salad, kind of, to some extent, are we?
Kind of, but a really nutrient-dense salad versus steroid muscle milk. But at the end, you're still, you still got a plant. If you walked into a room and all you saw were the tops of these plants, like the top 2 feet, most people aren't going to go, oh, well, that's grown with GH, or that's grown Botanica, or that's General Organics, or whatever. You're not going to be able to tell, because it breaks down to the actual chemistry of what the plants can absorb. So whether, we're getting way off base on that one.
Well, but also it's it's not a spiritual pursuit, but you're doing it in a different way to...
It's a different way. And that's it. There's 1,000 ways to skin this cat. We're not claiming ours is any better than anybody else's. I've consumed no-till soil stuff. I've consumed one-person synthetic that was actually like, holy crap, that's really good. I'm impressed. It really comes down, to me, this plant is way more of a living organism. It definitely resonates with our energy. I think that this plant absorbs, as we've said since we've been in business, the only thing we can't put legally into a bottle is the human element. And our biggest trick with I think our best product is the customer. Honestly, when I go and I see all the grows, the guys who don't do well with our line I often look at them and I see that they don't have this other spiritual level.
Yeah,
and
it's
I
not
go
for
to
them.
somebody like Pig Farm who goes in there, and I mean, you see how he.
His intention.
The intention's there, the admiration's there, the love
Yeah.
for the plant is there. My favorite grow, the women that work for him defoliate in the night cycle while singing to them in the nude. And it's like, but he doesn't have bugs, he doesn't have mold, he doesn't have plant issues, his plants are always healthy, they're always thriving. He can screw up with an overdose feeding and still come in and they're still happy. So it's just, it's all in what you believe in. And there's a lot of people that think this is hocus pocus and these hippy-dippy ways of doing things, and then there's the clean, the big meme going around is this organic grower versus the salt grower, and it's like some, as I would call him, just a hipster douche with a three-piece suit, smoking a high-end cigar, sitting there with all his gold watches. That's your synthetic guy. Well, me is the organic grower, sitting on his couch and fat with a... then I'll take the dirty guy all day, every day, because if I don't... Look at my jeans!
But both guys are not necessarily wrong, and neither would want to change place with the other. So go do your thing.
Well, that's it.
Live your life.
Yeah. Thank God we all don't like the same thing, or else that thing would be gone.
That's the secret to happiness. Is finding
a
dessert food that no one else in the house likes.
There wouldn't be a Volkswagen available to us. So,
okay.
Do you.
There you go.
But yeah, that didn't really answer his thing. It's just because you have extra food that's designed to feed the microbes to keep them healthy, that keeps your plant roots healthy, which then keeps your plants healthy, which then keeps everything happy.
Sorry.
Words.
Bob. This is from Twisted 2011. Bob, can you use BK with RO without testing pH since the water is neutral?
Can you what?
He wants to use RO water for his Bloom Chaos, and he's like, I don't need to test it because it's neutral because it's RO water.
Yep.
Would you ever test just once? RO water is always neutral.
No, I've seen RO water from the grocery store coming at 8.2, and I'm like,
you don't
that's
know
not neutral. How are they reverse osmosis? I mean, reverse osmosis to me is neutral 7.0, 0 parts per million, and I'm seeing all sorts of numbers across the board. I'd still test the water to make sure that they say it's neutral, and it is neutral.
You'd have to use the little papers to test it, right?
Paper, yeah, if you don't have a pen.
Well, is the pen going to work with the RO?
It'll still give you a pH level.
Oh, okay. Well, it won't give you, all right.
Potential of hydrogen.
Yeah, all right. Boom! Question answered. Better safe than sorry.
But the one thing with foliar feeding that most people don't understand is that...
You want it a little higher.
You want it lower.
Oh, acidity, a little lower.
Yeah, but not like 5. I mean, but anything in the 6s is considered acidic in the realm of pH, because 7's neutral, 8 is alkaline, 6 is acidic.
Okay.
By pH scale. So a little bit acidic, then what you get is it helps penetrate the waxy cuticle on the leaf. So if you're at 7 and above, you're not penetrating the wax.
And they have wax on them to let the rain run off them.
All
plants
dust, not just rain. I mean, it's pathogens, it's dust, it's dirt. I mean, if all your plants absorb dirt on the foliage and they could eat it, they'd choke out. Yeah.
That's what the carnauba wax is. Carnauba wax for your car. Yeah. It's from some plant down in South America, and they chip it off the leaves.
Yeah.
All right.
Is it organic carnauba wax oil for your plant?
People they do the synthetics now because it actually kind of bonds with the polymers.
It's way better for the environment to not use a tree wax.
Yeah. People liked it because it had a little bit of a tint to it. It was kind of just a little yellow to it, and so it kind of gave the car a depth to the shine. Yeah.
You can see that.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass though.
Yeah, heavy, thick.
Yeah, and you gotta
buffer the shit. Not good.
Yeah.
Well, that's why paint goes away.
Yeah,
using
that. Rub it off.
Exactly.
Well, you can you think your paint's hard, and some newer cars are, but a lot of cars, you take a rag and rub it on there, and there's little scuff from it. It's not. Yeah.
Gas station I worked at, the guy had 67 split window. Is that right?
Yeah.
66 split window. This Corvette split window.
I can't remember the split window.
60, late 60s.
Split window. Yeah.
But he would wax it once a month. And then all the fenders was fiberglass because he had waxed the paint right off.
Well, those cars are so shapy that the paint is not even on them.
Oh, hell no. Especially that one.
Right, especially with some guy out there, you know,
yeah,
having a three beer lunch out of his bucket. Yeah.
Good car.
Yeah. And you know they don't last because of the fiberglass, so they're just gonna go away. I think. I mean, I guess they'll restore some, but Corvettes are.
Fiberglass is fucking solid. What are you talking about?
No.
The frame is rotting, but the fiberglass is solid.
Well, they're like kind of bonded together and stuff. They don't hold up, in my opinion.
As I said, there's a Corvette museum that prove you wrong.
They rebuilt those things like you wouldn't believe.
I got a 75 sitting in my garage that the fiberglass is all fine.
Well, on the outside.
Well, no, we just had to tear off the whole body.
Really?
The only thing that sucked was that foam nose
Oh,
cone.
those things are terrible.
Yeah, those rotted right off.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sun chipped it off.
Yeah, remember those ones would like they get kind of warped and stuff. The Trans Am ones or the GTOs, they would just like start turning into just.
Oh, mine shattered.
Yeah.
Mine I hit a bump and the piece fell off. I'm like, holy shit, that was happening. And that was the only thing, that and the rust in the frame for me in a Michigan car.
So, but it's back to snuff.
Well, it's still got Michigan cancer all over it. It still came from Michigan, and it never saw winter.
Oh no, it's just
being in the garage in the winter in Michigan, you get rust from the salt in the air. You salt the roads.
Yeah. Oh no, it's a tough deal out there.
Yeah, brutal.
So, Joy's friend's son's girlfriend is coming down here to look at a 4Runner. And she asked me to go with her because, you know, car salesman guys. So I go with her, and we look at this 4Runner, and it looks a little rough. A little bit of rust.
Tell them this, I've heard it.
It's from Connecticut. A little bit of rust on it, I'm a little concerned. We go take the thing for a drive. She goes over a railroad track, and it goes, whoa! Have I told this story on the show before?
I hope not, but if so.
And I think the suspension's a little weird. It feels a little weird. So I'm like, I'm going to look underneath. So I crawl back underneath and look underneath the car. The sway bar is hanging loose. And the strut that used to hold the sway bar to the differential is rusted off, gone, in just a ragged little piece. Where that metal that was like, you know, real metal, gone. They don't mess around back there. They kill cars.
And then what did he say?
He said, I looked at it, I go, that looks a little rusted up there. And he goes, huh. So do you guys want to go inside and talk about this?
Car salesman.
James Adamo. No, wait, Todd. Let's go, Todd. I'm just excited about James. I don't know where we are. John Connor.
I know we've lost half the people.
Yeah. This will be like part 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cut.
Twisted Vince 2011 Kings Baby. Okay. John Connor.
Yeah, I know.
Is that yeah.
It's from the future.
Yeah. If I really want to push Herc. No, Sarah Connor. He was it John Connor? Yeah, was her son. Yes, it was John Connor. Okay, yeah.
Came back and get him.
Spoiler alert.
Well, if you haven't seen the movie from the 80s, then spoiler alert. Or wake the heck up. Or you're 20 and you haven't gotten to that movie yet.
If I really want to push Herc more than what is suggested on the feed chart, should I ramp up the Athenas? Anything else I should push? Maybe slowly introduce BK to my feed. So I would say the BK is your key to that. But when you do the Athenas, that's a good question.
You certainly can. It definitely adds. What I do is slowly take them together up to about an ounce of Athenas, and then after that, you might be seeing a diminishing return.
So
of the Athenas.
If I'm trying to push my Herc and I'm using my BK to facilitate that, would I still use more Demeters as I'm doing this, or would I push the Herc and use the same amount of Demeters for a richer source of calcium?
I mean, again, if with Demeters, if you go up to about a tablespoon, it just becomes something that's not as advantageous, where the calcium phosphate is what we're seeing the most for developing the plant and the flowers.
So I guess what I'm asking is, if I want to do a ton of Herc, I'm doing BK to facilitate that, am I going to see deficiencies just because I'm pushing so hard with that one thing that the other things can't keep up?
Depends on your genetics. I mean, I've done it where we've crushed it with Herc and Chaos alone and just kept everything else normal and totally fine. But if it's a plant that is magnesium hungry, then we might see them starting to show some mag signs, and then we have to hit them with a little bit of Epsom salt or mag amp or something. But if you slowly throttle them up, they usually can handle the whole ride by pushing the Herc and the Chaos together. The Athena's adding that in is not a bad idea because it's an amino acid block helping build the cells as it's developing faster. But at a certain point, it's just you're putting too much in. It's not going to hurt anything. It's just wasting your money.
Okay. Epsom salts. Do you just get them from the True Value hardware store? Does it matter which ones you get?
Well, I mean, you don't want to get like the scented bath kind. You know.
Because that was a question in the comments.
Yeah, no, anything that just says it's just Epsom salt that's designed for, plant magnesium or soil magnesium, then any one of those will be totally fine. Espoma, I think, is like a pretty generic common name for it.
What are Epsom salts for? Is that the only thing they're for? Isn't there something you use
magnesium?
Them for?
Yeah, for soaking in. Most of us are magnesium deficient as humans, so
and
a lot of people soak in them. They feel so much better after getting a little magnesium in them.
That sounds like fun.
You should try it. It's really healthy for you.
Huh. All right.
And a lot of people are very magnesium deficient, so we stopped eating out of things like, wrought iron and eating food that was rich in minerals.
Huh. All right. Yeah, that's me.
But yeah, that's what it sells for.
Vloop 13662. Hey, Bob. I'm an avid nectar user. As of late, I have had a lot of problems with stubborn low pH. I have been to every forum and have talked to everybody about this. I'm in number 4 soil, 5-gallon pots feeding Roman schedule. Here's my problem. After 2 weeks in flower, my pH plummets to 6.0 in the last 3 runs I've done. I have tried every flush and every trick, and nothing will cure me of this problem. Could you guys do an in-depth explanation on what you do if all else fails, and last step possible? It would be great. It would be a great user. Questions. I know you have done a couple of videos on this, but nothing into depth. I know a lot of people are having the same problem. It seems to be once the heavy hurt comes in, I have been feeding at 7.3, it seems to get the soil up to 6.3, but when I start coming back down to the 6s, I plummet back down. I've been adding 40 milliliters of Ollie Up per gallon, and nothing works. Please help.
Yeah, I have 1,000 questions. I can't do it all in this video. Obviously, we've already taken too much time on this one. This would be like guaranteed loss of sight or visual.
Maybe we should do an episode.
Well, no, I have people pushing at 5 ounces to 6 ounces of Herc per gallon full Roman schedule and having the complete opposite issue. I've got people that are doing it crush. There's something in the water, the environment. There's 1,000 questions that need to be asked before you can even start peeling away this question.
That's a good point. So, this is fascinating when we do the thing here because we talk about it. But if you've got certain problems, and you've got problems now, you should email and, where we can go back and forth 10 times.
I mean, I go on the forums. I see what people are saying, and I won't say really. There's often times where I'm not agreeing with what's being recommended, said, or done, and it really boils down to me understanding the line and what's happening with how it's reacting in soils. It's not necessarily the nutrients or the soil. Most times it's going to be with regional water problems, and not like the water's bad. It's just there's chemistry that's occurring.
In the water that's causing reactions in the soil that we can't fathom.
Yeah.
Would you do some sort of flush with some sort of pH, try to adjust with that, and maybe use some bar water or something?
I'd be figuring out a dry amendment, because this is now a consistent thing for them. So I would be using a product called Calpril in my potting soil, and I have a guy on the East Coast that I've sent him bags of soil that has a 7.8, like a high batch of pH soil. I give it to him, and within 5 to 6 weeks, he's down at 5.5. And it's something in his water that is just driving this pH down, and we're trying to figure it out. So I sent him a 4-pound bag of Calpril,
which is limestone.
It's prilled limestone, so it's one shot, but limestone.
Oh, so it hangs out longer in the soil, and it slowly breaks down.
Drips out a little bit of pH buffering, so we can maintain his mid-6s by balancing the Calpril in with his potting soil. I have other guys that are in the same boat, but literally because of the amount of Olympus up, that's building up and creating a higher pH soil. So, everybody has their own issues. My problem here is I need to get a lot more information. I mean, I just have a lot of questions as to trying to figure out what's going on to help with this situation. There's components. Maybe the HERC in your situation is creating an issue and building up in there. Maybe splitting your Roman feed where you're doing half of your Roman feed with the HERC in one day, switching over to the rest of the Roman feeding on another day, going back and forth, seeing if that doesn't help buffer that out.
So you're talking like doing your Greek portion of your Roman regimen and then doing the other stuff on another day? Okay.
Just messing with it. Come up with a different blend where you're not throwing it all at one time. Maybe the overwhelming load of fertilizer and there's not a huge microbial field that's there to receive it or break it down. Or again, there's, if it's building up, or if you have so many inoculants, so many bacteria, so many fungi that you're putting in regularly, they all produce acids and they drop acidic. I mean, they release organic acids, which then will drop pH.
Okay.
So
in an indoor environment, do your microbes regulate your pH, or do they make it worse to some extent?
Well, it depends on your
You
media.
don't know what they are.
There's here's this many variables, and you want an answer. There's not an answer to this many variables yet. But a lot of times when I see acidic soil, it's usually you got really good fungal mat going, you've got a really good bacterial field going, and they're digesting at a rate that's excessive, and that is your byproduct. So either flushing that out often or feeding them accordingly.
Can you be feeding too much to your... This is an off-base question. Can you be feeding too much to your plant, but you have such a great microbial field that they're eating it? And
but if they're eating it, they're converting it into a food. So it's and more than any thing. I mean, if I put it in and I'm feeding, the plant isn't eating it, and the microbes are eating it all, it doesn't go away. They just convert it into plant-ready stuff.
That's a good reason to have the microbes.
Yep.
Okay. Todd! Hey, Bob. When using the instant teas, you're saying that they are added on top of the nectar regimen on the tea day. If so, does that mean when you brew an active tea for 24 hours, you're only feeding it the active tea, no nectar on the regimen day, on that day? So there's a day when you just do tea. That's how you roll.
Feed tea. Feed flush.
Yeah. So I think what he may be getting at is that let's talk about this. The cultured biologics. They got a whole system of their own where they do feeds and instant teas.
Yeah.
Very different situation than a brewed tea because the microbes aren't eating that stuff up over 24 hours. It's all getting put in a thing. And so that's probably not your bag maybe, but they do well with that, and that's just kind of a different way, another way of skinning the cat.
Sure.
Is that would you say that's what that is with the culture thing?
That's just, I mean, a lot of times when people that are using culture don't want to brew the teas.
Yeah.
People who want to brew the teas won't use the culture.
Yeah, but I guess there's a lot of people that use cultured on their tea day to save time. But there's
also... I do it somewhat regularly because it is just adding in that microbial spore in hopes that they germinate and colonize in the next 4 to 10 days.
Yeah. But they've also got a little giggity they do with using nectar along with their teas and feeds to...
Yeah, but they're mixing up their food, pHing it, and then adding their tea spores on top of it, and then...
After it's pH, so...
Watering it in.
Yeah.
And then, a lot of these guys will want to do the compost tea and then brew a compost tea with the food, but the food's been digested, so it doesn't need to be broken down again, and it's just a waste of microbes and food. So microbes aren't feeding the plant. When you're making a microbe tea, you're making a tea to inoculate the soil.
Yeah.
That inoculation is to protect the plant, colonize the roots, and consume fertilizer or nutrients that are in the soil. So we're never feeding the plant through a compost tea.
Yeah.
The culture guys like to do a feed, and then while they're doing it, they throw in the spores on top. So after the plant's done feeding, the spores start germinating, and they start eating the foods that are already available and present. So... Yeah.
More power to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
But to just, and you can brew their teas for 24 hours if you want, but that goes back to then you can also use worm castings and a good compost source and brew your tea. Blah, blah, blah.
Captain James Adamo. I put the captain on. This is the first nickname for one of our users. Captain James.
It's not the first nickname.
For one of our...
Publicly, but...
Not that guy. Not that guy. He's a good guy. He just He was trying to critique my performance. That's not unreasonable.
Oh no, that wasn't a nickname. That was just a name.
Captain James, thank you for your info on how to run blueberry plants. Blueberry, remember?
I remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
The second part of my question was cannabis related. I should have clarified. I was trying to understand what is the right time in the week to use Bloom Chaos. So...
Tuesday. But only every second Tuesday.
Second Tuesday.
Now, the right time of the week or the right time to use Chaos would be as long as you have been feeding calcium or herculean into the mix.
So, would you ever foliar feed on your tea day with Bloom Chaos?
If I fed yesterday with my food, yeah.
Yeah. So there's no day that's wrong to...
The only day it's wrong is when you just go down, pick up Bloom Chaos, and you're doing a no-till, and that's all you're feeding. Then that's a bad day of the week to do that. But anytime that, as long as you're within a feed, 1 to 2 days before the Chaos spray, you're good. Or the same day.
Do you use your Bloom Chaos as a root drench in veg as well as in bloom, or only when you get to bloom?
Depends.
There's no rule.
It's understanding how the product works in your garden. If I want them to grow tall in veg, I'll water it in. If I want them to be short in veg, I'll foliar feed and focus on flower sites and branching and be stubbier. And same with bloom.
Is that depending on your environment? If you're in a tent and another thing, or are there reasons you might do that for other than just the space that the plant occupies?
It's you, your garden, your environment, your space. I mean, if you're in a 5-foot closet, and you probably don't want to be watering it during veg because it'll be a 7-foot plant. So
that'll be a problem.
It's probably gonna be an issue if you're in our
warehouse.
It's
crawling around the top of the light, coming back around.
Yeah. So that's just environmental.
MC. GrowFam20 is not working anymore. Remember that code? GrowFam20.
Oh yeah.
A couple years ago.
We killed them all.
So that's the discount code. He says it's not working anymore. Do you have an updated discount code? No, I don't have an updated discount code, but I know where you can get one.
Yeah.
Newsletter.
It's called the newsletter.
Yeah. So if you go to OCGFAM.com, OregonWisconsinGardener.com, and you go all the way to the bottom of the page, and you put in your email, you get a newsletter every month.
Yeah.
And it'll have a code in it along with other helpful information and goofy pictures. It's a lot of fun.
Sales dates that are really good savings on mine.
Yeah.
And if you sign up for the newsletter today and you didn't get a newsletter today, then just contact us on the website and say, hey, I signed up for an email or your newsletter.
Give me a code.
Can I get a code for this month? And they'll send you a code.
There's a code every month.
Every single month.
20% off usually.
Usually.
Yeah.
Every time, yeah.
All right. Gary Bramblett. Hey, Bob. When using Bloom Chaos and foliar, should you add some Herc or some other product? No. Just the Bloom Chaos. Well,
but you can use
when you're foliar.
But, I mean, you can add Zeus, you can add Athenas, you can add Poseidon, and things that are already present, sure, but don't add a calcium product to help enhance it.
So, but just to clarify, if you were doing a root drench, you just put it in with your regular feed. You would never do a Bloom Chaos, just Bloom Chaos root drench.
Yeah, no.
You just put it in with your feed when you're doing that. But if you're spraying it, you probably just spray just it. You could do other stuff, but
you could. But calcium won't work with it as a foliar.
You're not gonna.
It won't benefit you.
Okay. There you go.
But I do get that question. Like, should I use CalCarb with my? It's not about. We're trying to get the calcium to enter the plant from the root zone since it enters in there the most efficiently. So we're teasing the plant to absorb more by foliar feeding it. It's telling the plant you need to do something so it draws it up.
I gotcha. So
foliar
that's the
feeding
point of the
calcium
whole
is not
thing.
efficient, and the calcium that is available through the foliage isn't the same form of calcium that we're putting in through the bone meals. So it's just a delivery system.
Trevante Bell, what do you think about adding CO2 with Nectar for the Gods?
We discussed that.
We did. Just quickly, is there anything about Nectar for the Gods using it that makes it different for CO2 over any other grow that you would do with a CO2? It's just a situation. Now let me ask you this. Some people say they do it for when they have high heat and something like that. You've never heard that before? If it's really hot where they are, the CO2 helps the plants to grow better, it seems like. Now, forget I said anything.
Yeah, I don't live there. Not a problem for me. And I know a lot of people have heat issues when they're using CO2 because they have to evacuate the heat and then they have to crank more CO2 in and then they evacuate the heat. But again, it's a preference. Do you like it? Then try it.
Cool Name is back with a second question.
Jeez.
And didn't he do 2 questions up above?
And a comment.
Good
But he has a
Lord,
cool name.
He does have a cool name. I am confused a little. Why do compost teas get recommended with almost all newt lines when every manufacturer always say their newt line is the best, most complete, all you need for a massive perfect harvest? This is not to rip anyone or their products. Sounds like
No.
just wondering why this stuff isn't in the teas isn't incorporated in the nutrient line instead of having it be almost a second thought and having to get separate and guess what's better product from each manufacturer's line.
And that's a good question, a good statement. And the reality is, if I put the same bacteria that's in SLF or the same microbes that are in Easy Teas and I put them into the Herculean, that bottle would explode. It's literally adding gunpowder to the fire.
Yeah.
Because the whole point of these bottles is that they are stable, they're neutral, and they are, preserved.
Yeah.
And then you have life. Well, the life gets into these things and they activate it, it becomes a problem. It starts forming CO2, it starts breaking it down more, and then you get the gas off.
So, like food and things, they have a low pH or they pasteurize it or they put salt in it. There's ways you preserve those things so that they can be stable to get across the country. And that's what you have to do with a nutrient because it's a food kind of.
Well, and even if you're making it today and wanted it, if I made a batch of bone meal and then added trichoderma to it, in 4 days, that thing is going to be a monster of growth.
Oh, yeah.
So there's no way to make a product that is all the food sources and all the bacterias and everything and having it even shipped for 3 days after you make it because it would be exploding.
This happened to me.
It happens to us all the time.
I got a big bucket you had some bone meal that got wet, and so it was like chunks, and so he gave me the bone meal and I took it home to put on my garden.
Yeah, in a bucket.
In a bucket.
Lid.
Yes, with a lid. But here's what happened, is the lid got loose, and I had it around the back of the house, and it rained, and I wasn't out in the yard for a month or so. And one day, I was walking along, and I went... It was the most disgusting thing in my life.
Yeah.
I had to throw it away in garbage bags.
Oh, yeah, no, it's nasty as hell. The plants don't care, and they'll still eat it. And then, the other reason why is microbes are so beneficial to plants with or without nutrition. They keep them safe, they keep them healthy, they fight pathogens, disease. They're in there actually protecting your plant from no matter what your nutrition program is. So most manufacturers are going to recommend some form of compost tea or some type of microbe to just help your plants be strong. And like the natural environment outdoors, we're trying to keep the plant healthy and strong, so we give it nature's little soldiers to protect it.
So I know the answer, I think. It's not your bag. You're a specialist in what you do, but why don't you just make a microbial?
Well, because we're not the creator of the microbe. So a lot of guys have done that. A lot of people are just buying spores and then making their own products. There's a few companies that are actually colonizing their own spores, and those are the people we try to do more business with. And so what we see is the guys that are colonizing and controlling that market, they're the ones that are doing great.
Yeah.
Everybody else is just buying spores from these markets, creating proprietary blends, and then putting them out there as tea sources.
Their thing is a special thing, just like your thing is a special thing, and they figured it out like you figured this out. Or there's people that are just buying a bunch of that stuff and throwing it in a bucket or a box or a bag.
Yeah.
So it's a thing to make that stuff.
We don't want to be in the
simple.
microbial world.
Yeah.
We have too many friends that are already there. They've done well. I don't believe in making money on other people's work, and we'd rather promote a community than promote dollars in our pockets, which is stupid.
Yeah.
We should probably still get paid.
Yes, to get paid.
But yeah, no, it's about protection and health for the plant, and any nutrient company that has a sense of farming or gardening will know that microbes, even the most synthetic nutrient lines, have created microbes that
live in the synthetic.
That's their environment. And so, before the Hawthorne takeover on GH, General Hydroponics had labs on the East Coast creating mycorrhiza strains that thrived in their mineral salts. And thrived, and their subculture was an amazing mycorrhiza product because it can handle high phosphates, which is unique. So it really just comes down to the plant's health, and we're the nutrient guys. Those are the health guys that keep they're the little nurses to keep everybody happy.
Just thinking about nurses. Sorry. Michael Sears, candy stripers. Remember the candy stripers? While on the subject of pHing, when using BK as a soil drink, should I pH the water before adding the BK? Thanks. Happy New Year.
Depends.
Well, let's...
Yeah,
so-
I mean, yeah, of course. But if your water is anywhere in the 6s, I just...
You're fine.
Yep, go.
What if your water is wildly out of range? Should you go get some RO water, or what should you do there? And then...
Well, good luck.
Yeah.
You're going to have to just keep doing that for everything you ever do. So,
Yeah.
I mean, ideally, if you're at 8, you want to bring it down, then add the... But really, if you're at 8, basically the only time you would want to pH or have to pH the water to make it sense is if you are really low. If you want to bring it up, let it get stable, then add your chaos.
Would anything that I could use to change my water's pH affect the chaos in a negative way?
Our Olympus up would, because it's calcium limestone
It's
and chaos, so there's going to be a reaction there. But if you're bringing it down with a phosphoric acid or citric, you shouldn't have any problem.
Would you do it way before or just right at the time?
Doesn't matter. For bringing it down, it's not going to matter. Unless you're using some like really harsh, horrible, like
Acid.
bad acids. Well, there's so many acids.
Battery acid.
Yeah, you wouldn't want it. Sulfuric, you don't want to be using that.
No. Keith McGreeny. Growing some autoflowers for the first time with nectar and other than the plants being really short, things are going well. I bought a temp and humidity monitor that records data over time, and I've been noticing, this is an interesting question because I noticed this too, some interesting things. The lights are on 20 and 4,
Yep.
on 20, off 4, cycle, and when the lights go out at midnight, the temp drops from the low 70s to low 60s, but at the same time, the humidity goes from 40 to 50, and then gradually backs down when the lights turn back on. I thought warmer air holds more humidity than colder air. What do you think is going on?
Well, the thing that dries your air out just turned off. So now there's no radiant temperature, so now it's called relative humidity. So
It's not
fog in the Oregon forms because the high temps drop below, and the moisture in the ground decides to evaporate, and you create fog or high humidity. That's what we're doing. We're creating...
With the lights.
Well, the light's the sun goes away, the moisture in the soil starts to rise out, so your humidity rises and your temperatures drop. Yes, in nature, out in the environment,
Yeah.
if you're near a lake and the sun it's humid as hell because the lake is being absorbed through, the evaporation rate is then being warmed up by the water. But for in your room, it's just your lighting dries out your air, and when it turns off, then the moisture comes back from the soil or your rock wool or whatever you're using. So
Good answer.
that's why those, VP, the vapor pressure deficit, the VPD,
Yeah.
you look that up, and then there's controllers out there that help control your VPD. And that was the one thing that I watched Pig Farm this time. He just bought all new controllers. They're called Trollmaster controllers that have VPD sensors that actually keep your temp, your humidity, all your conditions perfectly in sync, and the plants respond amazing to that.
Interesting. So it might humidify, it might dehumidify, depending on what's going on. It keeps it in a range, no matter which
in range. Because a lot of times what we find, like a lot of things with mildews and molds, is when your low humidity and your high temps switch, then you're creating cold, wet days, evenings, and hot, dry days. So your plants start to get some more stress, then they start exposing the molds and mildew issues. So if you can keep everything relative, that's why they say relative humidity is temp to humidity, and they vary this way.
Yeah.
Then you don't have nearly the issues. The plants stay healthy and stronger, and they stay eating faster. So that one's a tough one to control. A lot of people have these night-day switch environment ventilation systems. To me, these controllers nowadays make that just mindless. You don't have to think. You just punch in the shit you want, hit go, and it just controls it.
And if you're serious about it, that's something.
Yeah, if you're serious about it and have 4 to 6 lights, it's an investment that will pay off fast in just not having issues. High humidity in night, it causes a lot of problems, or can cause a lot of problems. But that's what's happening, is that you're in a small box and your radiant sun goes away, the moisture climbs. But when the light comes on, it dries it out because it's radiation.
Longest episode ever.
Yeah, this may be it for like the first quarter. Not even see you guys till March. End of March, early April.
I'm sure they're going to have some great questions that are going to tempt you back into the fray.
Maybe.
Happy trails.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. 2020. Who would have thought? Living in the future. The OCG Fam Show. It's pretty good. It happens every day. It's the OCG Fam Show. See you tomorrow.